So we'll take our first story from citynewsroom.com. GMA decries poor distribution of PPEs as about 13 doctors contract coronavirus. So I'll read the story thoroughly, then I'll introduce our guests and have them give us their thoughts on it. From citynewsroom.com, we have here the Ghana Medical Association has expressed worry over the distribution of protective personal equipment to health facilities across the country in the fight against the novel coronavirus. It follows the confirmation that about 13 members of the group who are medical doctors have tested positive for COVID-19. The Ashanti Regional Divisional Chairman of the GMA, Dr. Pakwesi Baidu, who spoke on Eyewitness News last night, said aside from the doctors, other health practitioners have also been infected with the virus. I'm going to quote the doctor briefly, what he said to Umaru Sanda on Eyewitness News last night. The virus affects virtually everybody. It has no respect for the rich, poor, educated, or non-educated. As of last week, we had a figure of my colleagues, doctors, to be 13, but currently that figure has gone up. But it is not only of doctors, but we also have nurses, pharmacists, and administrators. But for those figures, I can't say because I don't have it. A lot of our people, healthcare professionals, are getting it. The question people are asking is it work-related? That is usually difficult to give because it is very difficult to pinpoint at what point one gets it. So we can't also say where our members got it from. He goes on to tell Sanda that if you meet a patient, are you now going to say, oh, hold on, you're about to die, but let me go get my PPEs to put on before I treat you? There's so many issues that they are dealing with, and he's calling for the GMA to be part of the government's team as far as getting these PPEs to the doctors who need it the most. So he says, I'm going to quote him, we are appealing not only to the government or Ministry of Health, but all people making donations, that we appreciate it, but we should look at the hospitals. People are donating and we are happy, but the average doctor in my region is not getting it. And if the doctor is not getting it, can you imagine the nurse, the cleaner, the mortuary men? Our leadership has spoken to the government and they are being so helpful. So we are appealing to them that though they are under more pressure, we want to get more of these PPEs. They should see the distribution so that it gets to the regions. We are also appealing to them to include the Ghana Medical Association in the distribution and not kept in stores when people need it. We will support the fight, but we shouldn't put at risk, we should not be put at risk of the virus. So that's coming from the Ghana Medical Association. And we're going to hear shortly from Nanaya Akwada, who is the Executive Director of the Bureau of Public Safety, about this issue of PPEs and matters arising, as well as the face mask wearing. How do we ensure that we are meeting certain standards? So Nanaya will be joining us shortly, but throughout the news review, if you have any contributions to the conversation, we want to hear it with the hashtag Breakfast Daily and the WhatsApp line 0550-585-832. If you're outside Ghana, the country code is +233. Now, while the Ghana Medical Association is saying they are not receiving PPEs and their doctors are now getting coronavirus, 13 doctors as it stands now, there are nurses who have them, there are other healthcare workers who have them, but they don't have the number yet. The president is also saying something different. So, meanwhile, the president, Ado Akufo-Addo, says government has enabled significant domestic production and supply of protective equipment to health workers as they wage the war on COVID-19. So I'm going to quote him. They have received in recent days over 900,000 nose masks, over 31,000 medical scrubs, over 31,000 gowns, over 46,000 head covers, and over 80,000 N95 face masks. So if all these PPEs are being produced and distributed, why exactly is it not being trickled down to the level of our doctors and our nurses who need them the most? Is there something we should be looking at as far as the supply chain is concerned that we are not looking at yet? Because 13 doctors getting tested and being positive from COVID-19 is a very big issue, especially in a country where our doctor-to-patient ratio situation is something that is not, we can't write home about. So Nanayao Kwada is with us. Good morning, Nanayao.
Good morning, Jifa.
How are you?
I'm great, thank you.
I wish you could have joined us today, but you've not been able to join us.
I wasn't told you were going to be the anchor or the moderator today.
So on this story of 13 doctors testing positive for COVID-19 and the GMA expressing concerns that PPEs are not trickling down to their level, what are your thoughts on it?
Well, Jifa, sad, extremely sad. Even though we expect that when soldiers go to war, there will be casualties. With the kind of numbers we have in our country, for us to have 13 doctors, it means as we come down the ranks, the numbers are likely to grow. It means we have probably twice, thrice that among nurses and so on. I think it's sad. Especially the ones who are responsible for the distribution of nose masks. I believe also that moving forward, GMA should round up its members, reassess and if possibly, redefine how they approach, cases at the hospitals to ensure that moving forward they are safe. I think that it's most unfortunate to have 13 doctors and more go down in the manner that we are seeing. It's not encouraging at all. If I were a young doctor this morning seeing this news, I would really, really be shaken.
Now, Nania, what exactly is going on? Because there seems to be a disconnect between, what the government is saying on a macro level of us being able to produce, PPEs in their thousands and making them available to healthcare workers, and what our healthcare professionals are telling us are happening on the ground.
Well, yes, there is a disconnect, and we at the Bureau are not surprised because time and again, while COVID-19 treats every country specially, there are some problems or situations that are universal. Several weeks ago, we saw the US facing a similar challenge where the states claimed that they have enough for medical workers, and yet address it by involving the frontliners in the management of the protective equipment at all levels. And I do not see why several weeks on we cannot do same. There is no reason why in a time like this, a group like the Ghana Medical Association, the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwifery Association should not be part of how protective equipment are kept, stored, and distributed. Once we keep them apart, we are not bringing people on board in a time like this. Some of these, excuse my language, ugly and untidy situations are bound to crop up at us. Unfortunately, these are not issues that will just come up, but they are issues that come up with a high cost of infection of doctors and thereby removing them from the front line. This is coming at a high price, and we should not
Okay, so Nanaya, we're going to now look at face mask. A week ago, or actually on Friday, we received a directive that at least in the Greater Accra region and other regions, people have to wear face masks. A lot of supermarkets are not letting people enter the establishment without face masks. Some banks are not allowing it. The president is advising all of us to walk out of our homes with face mask on. So now a lot of people are producing face masks. You go onto our traffic lights and there are hawkers selling face masks among others. But the Bureau of Public Safety is asking or calling for us to regulate the production and sale of face masks. Can you tell us more about why you are calling for this? But I'll read the story briefly on citynewsroom.com and then hear from you, Nanaya. Also, it says, Bureau of Public Safety calls for regulation of face mask sales. The Bureau of Public Safety is demanding the immediate regulation of the sale of face masks amid their growing importance during the novel coronavirus pandemic. The government has essentially directed all citizens to wear face masks once they leave their homes. So speaking to City Newsroom, Nanaya Akwada, who's executive director of the Bureau, said all sorts of people are trading in nose masks in manners that are most unhygienic. So by the time you even want to comply with that directive, you would rather end up contaminating yourself. Why should we have people selling nose masks on the market just like that? Of course, this has come as a result of people seeing the demand for face masks and deciding to supply. But are there certain protocols they should be following? We know that the FDA has already come out with guidelines that you should be following if you are a face mask producer. But are there any sanctions on those who will not comply by those guidelines and will go ahead and produce anything? And of course, speaking on big issue this Saturday, the president of Imani Africa, Franklin Cudjoe, also shared a similar concern. So he said, as much as I admire the efforts in making sure that locals are manufacturing some of these face masks, it is important that they do it right. I went purchasing 2 local face masks and I had great difficulty in breathing. So in as much as we are producing face masks locally, what exactly should we do to ensure that the face mask we are buying will not be detrimental to our health, right? So it may not be the best face mask for us to be using, because we're talking about breathing. You don't want to contract anything else aside coronavirus. So we'll go for a quick break. After the break, Nanaya will tell us exactly where the Bureau stands on the matter of face mask. But we want to hear from you. So wherever you're watching us from, the hashtag is Breakfast Daily and the WhatsApp line is 0550-585-832. If you're outside Ghana, the country code is +233. We'll be right back. Welcome back. It's still Breakfast Daily on City TV. Thank you so much for staying with us. Again, it's an interactive show, so wherever you're watching us from, we do want to hear from you. Let us know your thoughts with the hashtag Breakfast Daily. And if you want to reach us directly, our WhatsApp line is 0550-585-832. If you're outside Ghana, the country code is +233. Before the break, we were discussing the issue of wearing face masks. We know that a lot of us are wearing face masks now, and with the demand for face masks has come supply. All kinds of people are producing face masks now. Hawkers on the streets are selling face masks, and the Bureau of Public Safety is saying there should be some form of regulation as far as the production and sale of face masks is concerned. So Nanaya Akwada is here with us. He's going to help us understand exactly the concerns that the Bureau is raising. Nanaya.
Yes, Jifa.
On the issue of the face masks.
Okay, well, very important issue raised there, Jifa. We got to know when the FDA rolled out their guidelines for the face mask, that registration, licensing, and analysis fee comes up to about 2,500 Ghana cedis. This though is aimed at regulating the sales or the distribution of face masks, it's also a barrier to small businesses that want to go into the manufacturing or the production of face masks. And so let me use your platform to appeal to government to consider revising that fee, if possibly waiving it entirely, so that we can have a lot more people getting the FDA's approval, input in their production process. That said, currently, if you see how people are trading in the mass in all kinds of ways, you find people selling masks, that are not in poly bags. We don't know how they were produced and all that. We think that it's time that the FDA actually and the Ghana Health Service stepped in to regulate this. It's possible that from time to time the FDA can surveil the market and bring feedback to the public so that the public are aware of some of the challenges or the issues about nose masks. If we do not make these things public, say if the FDA buys samples from the market, analyzes them and tells the public, look, we bought X number of nose masks from the market, we found X% of formaldehyde in this, we found that this was too porous, could not protect you, we found that this, then people will know that what we keep talking about buying FDA approved masks is that important and it concerns their health, so that people will buy more cautious. As it stands now, people are buying just anything that they can use to cover their face because they don't know just anything about the safety of what they are buying. So we want to indulge the FDA to engage in this, also police the market to ensure that the unsuspecting public are not shortchanged.
Okay, thank you very much. I think that's a really good concern you've raised there as far as protecting our SMEs, and we hope that the government will do something about it. Now we're going to look at our next story. It has to do with the news we heard from the president Sunday night when we said we're going to get 88 district hospitals as well as 6 regional hospitals. We know that the information minister will be telling us more about that this morning, but Honorable Akando has some issues with that. So I'm going to read from page 6 of the Daily Post. It says here, complete abandoned hospitals instead of building new ones. So the ranking member on Parliament's Health Committee, Kwabena Minta Akando, has urged government to focus on completing abandoned hospital projects in the country instead of starting new ones. So he was talking to my colleague Umar Usanda Amadou on Eyewitness News last night, and I'm going to quote what he said. Yesterday, I heard the president say that he's going to construct 88 hospitals within 1 year. There are a lot of questions, and I must assure the president that gone were the days that he could throw anything to us and it will not be subjected to proper scrutiny. I believe that now Ghanaians will not allow him to do such things because, first and foremost, the money isn't in the 2020 budget and it has no provision in same. I believe that we have a lot of infrastructure in place with some as near as 80% complete, and those investments, the money is for the people of this country, and if anything at all, he ensures those ones are completed and put to full use. So he's saying the president should take care of the abandoned health facilities before we build new ones. We know that people raised similar concerns with the 1D, 1F project, saying that there were abandoned manufacturing plants across the country that we should have taken care of before collaborating with the private sector to build new ones. But what are your thoughts on this, Nana Yao?
Well, if are interesting times. The economists have raised questions, politicians have raised questions. We in the realm of safety, I believe that our major concern is about time. So while 88 hospitals, district hospitals, 6 regional hospitals is important, we would want something that in the immediate term can keep, or we can use to manage cases in the event that we have a surge. And because of that, we will urge the president that he should pursue the building of more hospitals. It is required, it is desired. But the existing ones that are not operating at full capacity, those ones we should get them to begin to operate at full capacity. The ones that have not been opened as yet, it's important that those ones are immediately opened, staffed, and operationalized. Those are the key things, folks like me in the realm will be looking out for, immediately. Long-term plans are good. The president tells us these will be completed within a year. Hopefully, in the unlikely or likely event of a change in government, we would hope that just the same way as we are putting pressure to bear on this administration to complete and operationalize facilities that were, delivered by the previous government, it will be the same way that we will pressurize subsequent administrations to also do the needful.
Okay, so later on we'll be hearing from the information minister.
Let me also say that in the 6th or so address of the president, he hinted that he is
we're having difficulty getting his sound.
We are seriously looking for.
So we are. Make that point again for us. You were talking about the president's 6th address.
Yes, in the president's 6th address, he mentioned of a hospital at the Ghana East municipality where he's actually going to build a 100-bed hospital that will be delivered by end of May or mid-May. We are looking forward to this when the projects have such short, time for completion. It gets interesting, and we look up for that one to come on stream, because as it stands now, we have not been able to model and thereby project how Ghana's cases are going to be. So the more facilities we can bring on stream early, the better.
Okay, so we'll hear from the information minister later on today, but yesterday he spoke to Bernard Avle on the City Breakfast Show about the same matter of abandoning projects that the previous administration started, and I'm going to touch a little bit on that story for you. I'm reading from citynewsroom.com, then we'll hear from Nana Yaw-Akwada. But in the meantime, if you have any questions or contributions to the conversation, let us know with the hashtag Breakfast Daily and the WhatsApp line 0550585832. If you're outside Ghana, the country code is +233. So it says here, hospital projects started by Mahama, not abandoned. That's coming from the Information Minister, Kojo Oppong Nkrumah. So Information Minister Kojo Oppong Nkrumah says hospital projects started by the Mahama administration have not been abandoned, but are being worked on. So I'm going to quote what he said on the City Breakfast Show yesterday. The unfinished hospitals largely remain work in progress, and we will give an update on where we picked them from and how far we have come with them. There are some that we have finished and opened. Some are near completion, and some have gotten into financial and contracting difficulties because of some issues associated with them. We will also give dates on when those in progress will be finished. It is to make the point that some may be uncompleted still, but they are not abandoned. It is a work in progress. It will be finished by a particular time. So your thoughts on this, Nana Yaw? the fact that the government will be, completing some of these projects that were started by the Mahama administration, is saying that those that they won't touch on will be projects that may have some financial and contractual issues.
Well, partly I was only partly satisfied with the responses from the information minister. Jafar, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you. Go ahead.
I was only partly satisfied. The part that he said they were going to complete or operationalize existing facilities started by the previous administration, I believe is good news for every Ghanaian. The part that they said there are financial or contractual issues with it, I believe it will be appropriate for government to take steps. In the last, at least it's been like 3 years. Normally, when you talk like this, you sound like a politician. Sometimes things like this must be said when people's lives and livelihood are at risk. It's been like 3 years now. I do not know what financial issues they can rectify with a health facility in 3 years, or what contractual issue cannot also be resolved in 3 years. On the basis of that, we cannot progress into starting fresh facilities entirely when your people are dying. So whatever concessions parties involved in contractual tasks can make for the good health of the people, I believe that those concessions should be made. Whatever, if they are able, I listened to Ojo yesterday when Bernard Abler was interviewing him, and I heard him also say that the president has announced what he wants to be done. It is up to the finance minister to go look for the money for the project. And that response wasn't satisfactory enough. It gives us a sense of, I don't know how, for want of a better word, some issues with coordination, because governments just don't run like that. That the president speaks of his wishes, the finance minister goes to look for money. It doesn't have, it must come within a certain framework, a certain well thought through framework. So I wasn't satisfied with that response Kudu gave, unless otherwise I did not understand him. But to say that the president has spoken, it is the finance minister will have to go and look for the money and make way in the budget and bring a budget and all that. I wasn't really satisfied. It would have been more satisfying if maybe Kudu had told us, and that was really the case, that the president, finance minister have sat down, they know where they are going to get the money from, and it's going to cost us X amount. And I believe that this morning we should be looking out for all those details. And the fact that these projects, we've been told, will take a year to deliver, 94 hospitals in a year to deliver, that seems to me like very ambitious. But we can't hold that against the president. If it is achievable, why not? We've seen administrations, if you like, build or put together, hospitals, 600,000 bed hospitals in 2 weeks. And so, if cumulatively we are going to put together 1,000 or 2,000 bed hospital in a space of 1 year, though it's ambitious, we believe that it is achievable. And while we are urging the president to operationalize current ones, we also encourage him to go ahead and achieve this one for Ghanaians. It will be
okay, thank you very much for that, Nana Yakwada. So our final story has to do with cerebral meningitis, but we'll be reading some of your messages because you've sent us a lot. So Kwame Sam from Kumasi says, for PPEs, the U.S. involved the military because they were known to be well-versed in logistics management. Why can't it be the same in Ghana? Hello, good morning. How come these 13 doctors got the virus? Is it that they treat patients without putting on their PPEs, or that the PPEs are not being given to them? Please enlighten us on that. This is coming from Iruzi in Wa. And as we heard from the medical director yesterday, is that it's not just trickling down to their level. So the GMA definitely needs to get involved with the distribution of PPEs. Maxwell from Dansaman says, good morning. If government kept saying they have manufactured and are manufacturing PPEs daily and health professionals are complaining, then government is simply not telling the whole truth, or maybe a chunk of them have gone to the Electoral Commission. Is it not curious to note that health workers who are at risk don't have PPEs, and the EC is actually boasting of having enough for a voters registration exercise? Okay. Kojo Ansan says, good morning. I find it interesting that in all these discussions about uncompleted hospitals, I don't hear anyone asking a question as to why the projects are not completed. If one sign a contract for turnkey projects and does not deliver the key to the project, as it were, don't we have to ask questions? We should be asking more questions as to why we always have projects more or less abandoned when there's a change in government. What is Parliament doing about all of this? God bless you for the work that you're doing for Mother Ghana. Okay, thank you, thank you, thank you. Mr. President, we are not children anymore. Focus on the hospitals we have and provide equipment for the hospitals than telling us about building 94 new hospitals again. There are more messages here. I'll just read one more and then introduce our guest, Safia, who you've already seen on your screens because she came in my... Mama G says, God bless our home Ghana and make it great and strong. We shall soon overcome COVID-19 and our normal lives will get back to what it was. We should help the president do his work by complying with the measures put out there to fight coronavirus. Stay at home, stop the spread. Okay, so we are now going to speak about meningitis in the country. I have been joined by Safia Abdallah Rabo, who is an epidemiologist and executive director of Zongo Girls Education for Ghana. I'm just going to read the story briefly and then she'll touch on them for us. So 3 more people have died from meningitis in the Upper West region. I'm reading from citynewsroom.com, and it says 3 more persons have died from meningitis in the Upper West region, bringing the total number of deaths to 43. And we know that 7 people have also passed away from meningitis in the Upper East. So the Upper West and Upper East alone, we've lost 50 lives. Safia, this issue of cerebral meningitis and us losing people, what should we do as a country to fight it? But good morning.
Okay, hello, good morning, and good morning to your listeners out there too. Meningitis has always been an issue, and then every year we have the peak season where we record a lot of death. Yeah. So, and in this era of coronavirus, I think much of the attention has been channeled to coronavirus, whilst giving limited, should I say, emphasis on meningitis. But this shouldn't be the case, because in some parts of the world, meningitis is no more an issue. Yeah. So I think it has to do with immediate reporting. Yes, so when we try to report the cases as early as possible, then we can address the issue. It's a bacterial infection, and then it shouldn't be creating so much havoc as in this 21st century that we are. Yes, so I think basically it's about the testing and then the reporting as well. People should endeavor to report in time at the various facilities in the north, so that the right thing and the measures will be put in place, so that people would not be dying from meningitis any longer in Ghana, as in where we are right now. It's not a good thing for us to be recording.
But this particular strain of meningitis, we don't have a cure for it, right? Yeah. This particular one, the Abasan. Have we done enough to sensitize the communities about the importance of reporting early, so that you won't have to lose your life to this disease?
Yeah, so I think you just made a point. So the education probably hasn't been well fetched. So that's one thing that should be done, so that people will no longer die from meningitis. So I think the overall features, the symptoms, and then the manifestation should be well explained, not only to those up north, because it can happen anywhere in Ghana, but I think up north the education hasn't gone down well. So that has to be well explored, so that people will be aware, and then there should be units that will be specifically set up in the various hospitals in the north, since that's where the cases are normally coming from yearly, so that they will address it duly for us to stop recording these issues.
Okay, what more do you think we should be doing each year to prepare? Because we prepared extensively for coronavirus, but some people have raised concerns that they didn't see the same preparation for meningitis, which is something we deal with every single year. What more should we be doing that we are not doing?
Yeah, so I think, like I said earlier, the various hospitals, especially where the cases come from, should have a unit specifically left there for meningitis issues. Okay. Yes, so that immediately there is a case, you don't have to go and join the usual normal queue for consultancy before we finally realize that, okay, the person is presenting with meningitis. So if there is a unit specifically designed for that, from the onset, where your vitals and other important data will be taken, we identify you. If you meet the case definition for meningitis, then you are being channeled to the right place, so that quickly and then as soon as possible the right thing will be done to jump the unforeseen circumstance of you having to lose your life to meningitis. Yes, basically. And I think there should be a lot of training has to be done. Okay. Capacity building for the health workers at the various facilities, so that you don't get to someone who doesn't really know much about meningitis, and then it has to delay the whole process that will lead to your diagnosis. So those things have to also be well explored, and the resources has to also be channeled in this field as well. Information and database should be working, so that every year, since we know there is a peak, we'll know how to manage it, analyze data very well, and then get drawn to the fact that we do not want to record what has been happening over the years. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Now, before you joined us, we were talking about coronavirus and some 13 doctors testing positive for COVID-19, and some members of the GMA feeling as though, even though we are producing a lot of PPEs locally and we're distributing them, it's not trickling down to their level. Your thoughts on that? Yeah,
I think it's quite alarming to wake up to a day where it's quite a significant number, 13 doctors. Yeah. Those that are supposed to be the frontliners, they are supposed to protect us. Yes, so if they start contracting it, then it raises a lot of eyebrows, because if we are not careful, they might as well lose the I don't know how, like they might lose the tendency to represent and then be frontliners to cure the sick. And if that happens, it wouldn't be a good thing for us. So I think the PPE should be distributed through the right people. So probably through the GMA, and then the heads of the various hospitals. They know the right people who need the PPEs. I mean, we have a lot of workers that are involved in this coronavirus fight, but we also have the frontliners at each facility. So I think the distribution should be channeled well to get to the right people, and then all the necessary resources that the doctors and the nurses, public health physicians in the fight, and the researchers as well would need, should be made available to them, so that we don't record some of these cases. If not, they start losing themselves, and then now they are equally afraid, because nobody would want to lose his life trying to protect the other person. So the right thing has to be done, and then they have to also be involved in all the things that is channeled to them to enable them fight coronavirus effectively and efficiently in the country. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Safia, for being with us. So we know that coronavirus is still there. Yeah, you guys are celebrating Ramadan. Yeah. How has it changed the mood, if any at all?
Okay. This is one of a kind. As a Muslim community, since I was born, I've never experienced this, and I know a lot of people out there have not really experienced it. It's not easy. But we are trying, having not to pray in congregation, which has been the norm, and usually getting to the 10 days of the end of Ramadan, we have our congregational prayers deep into the night. All these things has been stopped. Now it's just about you and your family. But one good thing too is that it has actually increased the bond. You get to bond very well with your family, and you make time to pray. And I saw pray for coronavirus to come to an end. Yes. So it hasn't been easy. So what we do a lot of late is to entreat the Muslims to build up their immune systems very well. So, because in a period where you fast like 12 hours a day, if you don't take your immune system's issues seriously, your immune system will be compromised. And we know coronavirus takes advantage of immunocompromised systems, and then it creates a lot of havoc. So we've been preaching to them. You have to take a lot of water at the time of suhoor. That is when you are to start your fast in the morning. Yes, and after breaking your fast too, you have to take a lot of water, take in a lot of fruits, and then exercise too. Yes, it's not easy to exercise after breaking your fast, but we have to try and then inculcate it in our habits, and then make sure that our immune system is very strong. And we have to also reduce stress. Usually when you look at the norm during Ramadan, there's a lot of work to be done. Yes, some families would have to cook like 3 times for evening meals and then at dawn meals. But all in all, you have to also get some time to rest and then have your peace of mind. Yes, because your mindset generally affects your immune system. So if you are so stressed, worried, then your immune system is compromised, and anti-coronavirus would come in. Yes, so we are entreating the Muslims out there, yes, to pray for Ghana and the world to be healed from this pandemic, and then also boost your immune system in this era to prevent any unforeseen circumstance.
Thank you so much for being with us. Safia Abdallah Rabo is the epidemiologist and the executive director of Zongo Girls Education, Zongo Girls for Education Ghana. And we were joined earlier by Nana Yakwada, who's the executive director of the Bureau of Public Safety. Do not go anywhere. We have more for you. We'll also be hearing from the Information Ministry on the 88 district hospitals as well as the 6 regional hospitals. Breakfast Daily will be right back.